Since 1916, the Eastern States Exposition has been the biggest and one of the few annual events where all 6 New England states come together to strut their stuff. Built in 1938 as a 2/3 scale replica of Connecticut's old State House, the Connecticut building at the Big E attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. It has huge untapped potential to showcase Connecticut products, art, and attractions for an audience of more than 1 million visitors who make their way to a destination just 5 miles from Connecticut's northern border. 40% of the attendees are from Connecticut. We are the biggest market for the biggest New England event. The attendance totals are impressive, and these are people who have already proven their willingness to make their way to our northern door. Just 65 miles from New Haven, 86 miles from Mystic, 50 miles from Litchfield, and 27 miles from Hartford, where we have so much so close. Some of our attractions have been exhibitors over the years. The problem is, it's rare that more than 2 have been exhibitors in any one year. From a tourism perspective, our attractions are not well represented. New England needs to burnish its brand. Developing a 21st century approach to our presence at the Big E is one way to do it. Among other things, New England used to be Historyland USA, an iconic place Americans flocked to in the days of the auto-based family vacation. The evidence is strong and the content on the ground remains unrivaled. Of course, the Big E has many facets. It's classic family entertainment with a midway, food courts galore, crafts for sale and display. Like most state, regional, and local fairs, Eastern States was rooted in agriculture and animal husbandry. The famous dairy industry's butter sculpture is folk art. Then there is a busy schedule of performing artists. The Supremes were on the stage at the height of their fame. Storrowton Village was the earliest assembled historic village in the U.S. It predates Old Sturbridge Village and Colonial Williamsburg. The Grange, rooted in agriculture, has a room for each state. Displayed in the Connecticut room is this amazing map from the 1940s, with tokens for things that were made in each of our towns in those days. There's a lot of history to all this, and a future as bright as we wish to make it. My favorite thing is the Avenue of States, where each of the New England states owns, operates, and mounts displays in a replica of a homegrown historic building. The Connecticut building is a replica of the old State House in Hartford. In the early years, our displays concentrated on homegrown products and industries like United Technologies, Stanley Tool, and Hitchcock Chair, Lego, maple syrup, Hamilton Standard, and Colts Manufacturing, and some attractions like the Carousel Museum in Bristol and the Merritt Parkway. Our presence at the Big E is managed by the State Office of Tourism. Every year they do a call for brochures. They staff and operate this information booth, the first thing you see entering the building. Alas, there is a problem if this is all we do. Number 1, brochures and rack cards are a 20th century way of communicating. Not obsolete, but also not the future of destination promotion. Number 2, most Connecticut attractions don't have brochures or rack cards to hand out, and many of those that do don't participate. Number 3, it's a jumble that isn't representative of the content on the ground. State tourism does not budget much for this event. They cover their costs by renting booth space to anyone who wants to be there. The food court aspect is expected, but many of these exhibitors don't even have a bricks-and-mortar presence in Connecticut and just do events and fairs, which is not the way to brand and promote visitation. Some of the stuff is strictly commercial or a Connecticut business with a Massachusetts accent in its name. This is not how to differentiate Connecticut in the ways we need to. The State Department of Agriculture is a regular contributor, and that's good. State police? Sounds a bit like police state. We need more public-private partnership. Lego, Pez, Connecticut Valley Tobacco, now we're talking, though it's even better when there is something on the ground here in Connecticut that visitors can return to. Connecticut is good at getting great with its farmers markets. It would be nice to have an entire display just about that. Most years there are at least a couple actual attractions that participate. I'd like to see a booth focused on our museums, another on our state parks, another on our hill towns and mill towns, and another on local history and historic preservation, things we do superbly. So much, so close ought to be our tagline because it is authentic and true. Connecticut is truly an American history land, also a state of art with a rich cultural life. Walking cities, performing arts venues, local museums in almost every town, many of national significance. Art, antiques, farms and farmers markets, and even outstanding dinosaur attractions. So much, so close. Displays in the other 5 New England state buildings vary. Massachusetts does a good job. Maine is always alluring. Vermont emphasizes its crafts and small-scale manufacturing. Rhode Island has Newport and College Hill and Providence. Maybe Hartford, New Haven, or southeastern Connecticut could mount a display. The state of Connecticut invests millions of dollars every year in a culture and tourism product. Most of what goes on in the Connecticut building at the Big E is good and necessary, but we need to do more to make this event serve the needs of our tourism industry. We need to add 21st century tools to our toolbox, produce a short and engaging promotional video, maybe a mural that telegraphs authentic treasures, an interactive digital discovery kiosk, and devote a couple booths to showcasing the things that make Connecticut a place worth caring about. History, art, preservation, hill towns and mill towns, performing arts, and more. Every year we have 1 million visitors at our back door. We need to give them more and better reasons to discover our very special places here in New England.